My name is Lauren Scavo-Fulk, and I'm a visual artist from Western Pennsylvania, from the greater Pittsburgh area. In 2016, I earned my bachelor's from Grace College in Winona Lake, Indiana, with a double major in English and drawing and painting. And then in 2019, I graduated from Indiana University of Pennsylvania with a Master of Fine Arts degree with a focus in drawing. My artistic practice is primarily rooted in drawing, but I also do some painting. The title of the show at the Quarry is Terrain, and this show is made up of small-scale charcoal drawings as well as some graphite drawings of landscapes that are local to me in western Pennsylvania. And these are all very small-scale landscapes. The largest, I think, is only 5 by 7. And I like to do these on such a small scale because I think that it gives them a sense of intimacy and helps the viewer emotionally engage with them because they have to get up so close to be able to see them. I'm interested in landscapes because I see them as something that is both universal and very personal. They're universal in the sense that everything takes place in an environment, and landscapes essentially serve as the backdrop for all of human activity. We all engage with the environment, and it's something that we share with one another, so in that sense it's universal. But landscapes are also very personal in the sense that we all have different emotional responses to the same landscapes. We all have different personal connections to certain environments based on our personalities, our emotions, our personal experiences that are connected to specific locations. So every person interprets every landscape differently, and I think that this gives the landscape genre a lot of different interpretations and a lot of flexibility. So I'm interested in the subjective way in which we as humans interpret the objective external world. I'm interested in that contrast between objectivity and subjectivity that's present in our perception of the environment at all times. And I try to represent that in my work by presenting the landscapes in my drawings in a fairly straightforward and objective manner, but with a heightened sense of atmosphere and with expressive mark making that you can only really see if you get up close to my drawings. My work is also very influenced by photography. I always work from photo references, and I'm interested in how photography is often seen as a pretty objective medium, while drawing is more subjective and expressive. But in reality, photography is always subjective too, because there's always a human element to it. There's always a photographer who decides what to photograph and how to frame it, what to leave out of the frame, and so on. So both photography and drawing are expressive artistic media. They're just expressive in different ways. So by taking these photographs and then drawing them, I'm exploring that relationship between subjectivity and objectivity through the relationship between photography and drawing. My artistic influences are Romanticism and deadpan photography, which are two styles of artwork that are kind of in opposition to one another. Romanticism emphasizes emotion and the self-expression of the artist, but artists whose work is deadpan, by contrast, remove themselves emotionally from the subject matter and try to present their subjects in an objective and straightforward manner. So by borrowing aesthetically from these two opposing movements, I try to further emphasize that contrast between subjectivity and objectivity that exists in our perception of the environment. When I'm choosing locations to draw, I mostly focus on locations that tend to be overlooked. So my drawings are often places like a trash can in a public park, or a forested area behind a parking lot, or overgrown buildings, that kind of thing. I'm really drawn to the areas where the built environment is directly interacting with the natural environment. I think there's a lot of beauty in those places, beauty that we don't necessarily see or that we take for granted because we're so used to seeing it. There's an idea in environmental psychology called spatial familiarity, and the idea is that the more familiar we are with a location, the less we actually see in it. We stop seeing the details of it because our brain just kind of glosses it over because we think we know it. But I think that we lose a lot when we aren't seeing what's around us. So part of my objective in this work is to draw attention to those places of understated beauty that we tend to gloss over. And one of my goals is that people who see my drawings might see something familiar in a new way and maybe become more aware of how they perceive the world.